Welcome into Northside Territory, Foul Territory Network's Cubs podcast. I'm Sahadev Sharma with my partner Patrick Mooney. We're your Cubs beat writers over at The Athletic. Patrick, you are back in cold Chicago. I've traded places with you. I'm in the same hotel, not the same hotel room. There's a chance. I don't know. Out in Arizona, I literally landed just an hour ago, so did not get to camp today, but we have some updates and some news. I guess we haven't recorded since Justin Turner officially signed. So Justin Turner is a Cub. We had heard some rumblings that this could happen, and it is now official. I believe he met with the media today, and this is council. You talked to council yesterday, the day before about it, and some people in the clubhouse, and it basically sounds like the message coming from the clubhouse is another winner, another veteran added to this group, and that's can't have enough of that.
Yeah, no doubt. I think a nice, he's obviously not Alex Bregman, and he probably won't play much third base at all. But I think players, particularly like this group of Cubs players, as you know, Sahadev, the group is like follows baseball. And I don't mean that to sound like stupid, but there are certain players who really study the game and study their competitors and follow how certain players got to that point. And that is the way Cubs players talked about Justin Turner. This is a guy who was a kind of an early adapter to launch angle, and he had been claimed off waivers. He had been non-tendered. He really didn't experience that huge burst of success until kind of late 20s through his 30s. It took a while for him to get to that point. And then obviously anyone who's watched the playoffs over basically a decade, saw him with the Dodgers and come up in some huge moments. I think his postseason OPS and his career OPS are almost identical. I want to say 820, 830, something like that. And,
Wow.
To guys Ian Happ, Dansby Swanson, Nico Horner, it's not just the Matt Shaws or the young kids they have coming. Happ was talking about this guy can help all of us. And Dansby basically said the same thing of okay, how do you slow the game down? What are you looking for? How do you stay in great shape to allow yourself to play past your 40th birthday? So a ton of intangibles, but the guy played really well last year, and the year before that he was even better. And I mean, you can kind of speak to this. This Cubs bench was rather unimpressive for the last couple of years, and I think you could see Craig Counsell kind of pressing this button in a lot of key moments this year.
Right. I mean, that's kind of Counsell's strength, right?
Yeah.
Using his full roster, knowing when to use them, how to use them, when to get guys rest. This is I like what you said about his playoff career. I'm looking at it now. I think people need to understand this. If you have he has better numbers for his playoff career than he does for his overall career by weighted runs created plus 128 to 126. Those are either way, career wise, those are awesome numbers. In 86 games, I think what did I just see?
Yeah, it's more than half the season.
Yeah, remember, people need to remember when you're in the playoffs, you're facing the best of the best. Numbers almost always go down. You're facing the best pitchers in baseball more often than not. You don't face, there's no underbelly of a bullpen because coaches, managers, don't do that. They don't put their bad relievers out there in any playoff games unless you're getting your butt kicked or something like that. He's beating up on good pitching. That means in the playoffs. That's pretty impressive. I don't think I fully realized that. That has to bring a little gravitas to the clubhouse. And when you talk about the weakness of the bench, look, there were some decent players on that bench. They just didn't perform last year. Mm-hmm. This is a trusted veteran that you're going to be filling in. Michael Busch, there's a tough lefty. Okay, Justin Turner's out there. Also, by the way, Justin Turner doesn't have bad splits. Like he can hit lefties, he can hit righties, but he's likely going to get a lot of playing time against lefties. Ian Happ, maybe if it's a tough lefty and he doesn't want Ian Happ out there, maybe maybe Seiya plays in left field and Turner DHs. We're going to see a lot of mixing and matching, I think, and it just makes the lineup better in a sense, like playing matchups better. And it just like you're a deeper team. If there's an injury to a corner outfielder, if there's an injury to Michael Busch, you're safe. My guess is, and you could probably speak to this better than I can, having been down here and maybe talk to some people, but when it comes to third base, my guess is that's like if Shaw gets hurt in the middle of a game, and then in all likelihood, it would be like they almost immediately call up a third baseman. I can't imagine he's starting like 10 games in a row if Shaw gets hurt, and he's put on the IL.
I think he could stand over there. They did not sign him to be a third baseman, was kind of the way it was put to me. I haven't asked anyone specifically about this, but I would guess too, like it's kind of the reverse Javi, like in 2015, where they'd put him wherever the ball was hit. Like Cubs have some fly ball pitchers, and maybe if you think the ball's not going to get hit over there that much, he could stand at third base and like make the plays, like if needed.
Right.
But yeah, like that was kind of the thing as we were first hearing about this, of like third base, and it's kind of like, he's played there, but also like his effectiveness, like if you want to get the best version of this player for however X number of at bats, like I don't think playing third base every day is like conducive to that.
Yeah, 33 innings at third last year, 57 and 23. The last time he had a lot of time there, 574 innings in 2022. So it's just, I mean, he's older. It's just not something he's going to be doing very often unless it's an emergency situation. That's not why they got him. He can hit, and they needed someone to back up Busch in all reality. Birdie's like Birdie's the backup third baseman. Like I don't know, like we don't need to overthink that. That's.
I think you can totally see though, like, can't you like envision the, Turner coming up to bat at Wrigley Field and 40,000 people on their feet and, coming through with that clutch hit,
right.
The walk off and everyone starts, storming the field. And I think too, as, our resident weather conspiracy theory guy, like too, maybe his style, his consistency, his ability to produce in high leverage moments, like maybe that we don't know how really he's going to play this year, but I do feel like if the Cubs have to small ball a little bit or, manufacture runs in low scoring games, like this is a guy you want like in your hitting room, in the dugout, in the batter's box.
So before we move on, look, you talked about how he's like one of the early adopters of the launch angle era. What the thing that stands out about him though from that is like a lot of these launch angle guys, high strikeout rate, he's never had a 20% strikeout rate. His highest was 2014 at 18%. And it's like consistently like, below 18%. Jesus, he had a 10.3% strikeout rate in 2017. Probably his best. Yeah, that is his best season. I mean, just a really quality at bat. And it's, he's 40. He's not going to perform in that 2017, 2018 level, but he's a quality bat. I like this addition a lot when you're talking about filling out the bench and just like insurance, even if he has to start like for 2 months because there's an injury. Like, I don't think that's like this huge drop off suddenly where it's quality winning veteran that can produce. I like the move a lot. To add him, they DFA Alexander Canario. We never really got to see much of Alexander Canario. He never got like consistent playing time. Decent numbers with the Cubs overall. Power bat, obviously acquired in the Kris Bryant trade. I think probably what really hurt Canario was that injury before the 23 or was it before the 22? No, it was
23. Yeah.
Right. And he had like a good, like,
it was like two significant injuries at once, right?
Right. It was like ankle and shoulder.
I think so.
Right?
Yeah.
That I think that changed a lot. Like, I think either he would have gotten more playing time or he would have been part of a pretty big trade. Like that was it. Like it kind of changed like the direction of his career. We'll see where it goes now. My assumption is they'll try and trade him over the next few days. Otherwise, someone will pick him up. He's going to like he fit like a Miami, right? Like a team like a Colorado, a team that's just not like competing, that may have some space for him to either DH or play a corner outfield spot, or even if they want to play him in center field. I think I guess what I would say is when people say like, why would the Cubs do this? Why are the Cubs giving up on him? One thing is he doesn't have options, right? Like I saw some people talking about like, why are they keeping Vidal Brujan? Like that's one thing about that is like Counsell, and this was true about David Ross too. They want players that can play defense. He's not like a lock to hit. Like this guy, you don't know what you're getting offensively. So that makes it like, okay, all you're getting is potential on offense. He's not a very good defensive player right now. Maybe he gets better. Maybe he'll prove everyone wrong and he's perfectly fine in a corner. They need Counsell plays defense, right? Like it's kind of like what we talked about with Pete Crow Armstrong. Like even if he doesn't hit, he's playing. Like he's gonna play. Like he's an elite defender. They're just players like that he's gonna put out there and say like, I know what I'm getting. Playing him every day. He's always being around him 1 year. It made it very clear that that's what he's looking for first and foremost from a young player. Can you play defense? Okay, I'm gonna play you. And then if you hit, great, bonus. Obviously, you need offense and you need guys that can hit, but Canario just didn't have a spot here. And like, there's other outfielders too. Like Alcantara and Casey are on the 40-man. I know we got news on Casey, I guess, either today or yesterday, whenever that was. Travel has made my brain scrambled. But still, like, they have like Alcantara is the backup center fielder, I would guess. Maybe Brujan.
Yeah, I mean, if they didn't DFA Canario now, they probably would have done it. What, week from now, month from now? Right. Who knows? Whatever move they had to make by the time of first pitch in Japan. Like clearly, I think this is a good reminder. Like players have like kind of windows to make their mark in organizations, and Canario, in large part due to injuries, and just didn't. And I'm sure there's probably some more to it. Like clearly David Ross and Craig Counsell didn't really weren't overwhelmed by the player or the skill set or whatever. This guy makes total sense. Like you say, on the White Sox, the Marlins.
Oh yeah, I didn't even think of the White Sox.
Reunite him with KB at Coors Field or something like that. Give him X number of bats, see what you got. Like the Cubs were not going to do that. I don't think squeezing him on as like the 26th man and like giving him like 2 at bats a week or one start every 10 days.
Wouldn't have been good for him. This is better for him, right?
No doubt. I'm sure he was thrilled by this news. I've never, I don't claim to know him all that well, but anyone in that position wants to play. And it's interesting, we'll learn more this year about that 2021 deadline. Obviously Pete Crow Armstrong could be a star. He could also flop this year. I think there's to be seen. Alcantara we'll see as well, really interesting guy. Like if he can play center, he really interesting, body type, skill set, personality. That would be a huge win, as he was the guy from the Anthony Rizzo trade. And at the moment, the Bryant trade, doesn't look all that great. We'll see if Caleb Killian bounces back this year and can impact the major league team. He hasn't really yet. Obviously the Craig Kimbrell trade just did not work out really for either team.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what both those guys were DFA'd, right? I mean, or non-tender, whatever they did.
Yeah.
Magical. Cody Hoyer
was
whacked as well. And then I guess maybe Daniel Palencia will be the maybe he harnesses his 100-mile-an-hour fastball. I believe he was acquired in the Andrew Chafin trade.
Yeah, Chafin trade. Yeah.
So, if PCA and the Jaguar become everyday players for like 12 years combined, obviously that's an amazing outcome. I think we'll learn a little bit this year. I'm very curious to see what they do with Kevin, that if he could break through or if he has a monster season in AAA, see how they view that. But Canario is, as our buddy Jesse Rogers from ESPN would say, an internet name, like a prospect who came up, traded for a franchise icon, had an interesting profile, put up some good numbers. He had one like just great year there. I think it was 2022, right before that injury.
Yep.
Like, wow, the Cubs may have an interesting piece here, and just didn't happen. That's sometimes how the game goes.
Yeah, I mean, comparable to Nelson Velasquez in a way, right? And just a lot of power, and like maybe if he gets playing time, he can impress and be a solid everyday player. I don't know. We don't know what happens there. It's also like it goes to show like how difficult it is when you're trading a bunch of expiring contracts. It's really hard to get really good value and certainty with that value. Like none of those guys were top 100 prospects when they were traded. A lot of them turned into top 100 prospects. And Canario, if not for the injury, was a borderline top 100 prospect after 2022, right? So like it's hard to like trades are hard to evaluate like at the time. And then 5 years later, you look at it and you're like, who won the trade? Well, I mean, you could say like there are different ways to look at it, in my opinion. What kind of value are you getting? Like, should they have traded some of these guys quicker? Right. It was hard. Like I mentioned with Canario, it was hard because I think they were thinking about moving him. I can't remember the situation. Did they have an opening in the outfield? I can't really remember exactly what it was. I think he could have played center field that year. Like I think he would have if he would have stayed healthy.
There was talk about maybe he could play center, and then obviously, Bellinger came in kind of while he was rehabbing, if I remember correctly. And then before Bellinger re-signed, there was an idea of, hey, maybe we try Canario out there. And
right.
Did that come to fruition? And that was part of why the Giants traded him. Like, as an international signing, he had to be onboarded to the 40-man roster at such an early age. It's
really hard.
Living out of experience. I think he may have had like an injury too with the Giants that like set back his timeline.
Absolutely.
So it's like really hard to carry a guy like that, year after year. Some of those years, he's not even close to the majors. And here he's kind of a bubble guy who is not going to get major run at Wrigley Field this year.
Right. Yeah. Okay. And final thing here, Patrick, Shota Imanaga and Justin Steele lined up for games in Japan. I think it was just a formality, right? With Shota, Counsell was, I assume Counsell just didn't want to tell you guys because he hadn't had the conversation with Shota yet. That's how he is in general. And then he must have had that, and he shared it, and it sounded. And Justin Steele will be game 2. That's not a surprise. You gotta, the Yamamoto Imanaga matchup will be fun. The fans deserve it. It's good for TV. It's good for everything. And Shota probably earned that opening day start in general. Like, for sure. He had a tremendous rookie season, and Justin Steele right there up with him as far as really strong performance last year when he was healthy.
Well, you'll love this. I didn't even slack you this. I want to tell you on the podcast, but Shota on Wednesday morning walks in with an Illini sweatshirt, and I turned to one of our colleagues. I was like, "They really say Illini?" Yeah. And then
I got a text.
Oh, you did? Okay. Yeah. So, and then he's been wearing like Vans shoes. This brand, I was like, "What is he like?" In the Sahadev, endorsement deal, or like, is there like a Sahadev brand line of Shota's coming to America assimilation process? So I don't know if you guys are going to go watch like March Madness together or what, but it's one of the best.
Downward spiral. Don't get me started on the line. Okay, very upsetting.
I will say one of the, I didn't get a chance to write it, but I will at some point, of just one of the funniest parts of like watching Shota is sort of like seeing one of the Japanese reporters start like kind of like laughing while Shota's answering something, or the cameraman starts giggling, and then Edwin, the interpreter, is kind of trying, like, biting his tongue, like, as Shota's answer is coming out. And someone, I believe it was Paul Sullivan of the Tribune, had asked about his history in the Tokyo Dome. Like, I'm assuming you pitched there. Have you done? And Shota said something like, yeah, I think I'm giving up a lot of big home runs there, which is just like, so that was kind of the reaction amongst the Japanese media of them. They're like laughing as they're hearing it. Then it gets to us. And I just thought that was hilarious. Like, Shota always delivers, just like genuinely funny, very appreciative of the opportunity. He talked about the history of the players who came before him and how his understanding is that, like, there are fewer kids playing baseball in Japan. So he hopes that this could be like a good catalyst for that. He mentioned Yu Darvish. He mentioned Ichiro, of just some of the figures who kind of helped pave the way for him and how appreciative he is. So you'll be there in Japan. I think it's going to be an awesome experience for you. And it's coming up pretty quick.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to it. It'll be fun. It's going to be an interesting situation for the Cubs. We'll see how prepared they are, what they can do against, far and away the most talented team in baseball. We'll see if they end up being the best team in baseball. I usually don't go with the obvious choice, but it's going to be hard. Like, when I make my picks this year for the Athletic, I can't imagine that I'm picking against the Dodgers. I just like it. That's how good
don't
they feel.
Overthink it.
Yeah, it doesn't always feel that way going into a season. This is one of those years where it's like, okay, they were clearly the best team last year, and now they just got significantly better. So, and they're going to be healthier in all likelihood. So it's going to be, it'll be interesting. We'll see how good the Cubs are. It's going to be like, we're getting closer and closer, right? It's what are we? Less than a month from opening day. So that's creeping up on us. Like you said, it's closer than we realize. So we'll be on top of that. I'll be reporting out from here in Arizona over the next 10-ish days, and then I think you'll be coming back soon after, and then Japan follows right after that. Thanks so much for listening, everyone. This is Northside Territory, Foul Territory Network's Cubs podcast. Make sure to rate, review, and subscribe. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Subscribe to The Athletic, where we'll be on top of all things Cubs. Thanks so much for listening, everybody. Take care.